So this is my C230 Mercedes, and I replaced the center bearing about 6 months ago, and everything was fine, and now this is happening. I don't know if this is the center bearing, or kind of sounds more like something's wrapped around my drive shaft, but I'm going 20 miles an hour, you hear nothing, and then just all of a sudden, it's definitely coming from my drive shaft, and I can kind of feel it on the tunnel, I think. But the thing about this is this didn't just happen. So like a month after I replaced my center bearing, I was on about a 1 mile stretch of 55-mile-an-hour road, and this happened out of nowhere. And I drove to a gas station, I pulled over, looked under the car, didn't see anything, and then I got back on the road, and about a minute later it just quit, and it hasn't done it since. And then just all of a sudden it's doing it again. So I would think if it's a center bearing, it would have completely failed, but instead it's just kind of coming and going. So this started yesterday, and it has not let up since. It's also strange that when I go under 20 miles an hour, it completely goes away. It's not like it gets slower, it just goes away. It obviously gets faster as I go faster, but below 20 miles an hour, it's not even there. So I'm wondering if it's the center bearing, or if there's something wrapped around my drive shaft that I picked up on the road, or if it's something else. But anyways, I'll have to get it back to the house and put it on the lift, and we'll take a look. There's also heat shields along the bottom of the car because the exhaust runs around the same area as the drive shaft. And whenever I replaced the center bearing and the flex plates at the end of each end of the drive shaft, I took the heat shields off and kind of straightened it back out because they were pretty bent up. So it kind of sounds like it could even be that hitting against the drive shaft. The heat shields are actually hitting the drive shaft, and whenever it rotates, something's banging against it. And I guess that maybe that could even explain why it only works when you get up to a certain speed. Like if it requires maybe a certain amount of airflow over it to knock the heat shield down into the drive shaft or something like that. I'm not sure. It's just kind of a strange sound. I mean, it kind of sounds like a bearing, especially like right now. But sometimes it just kind of more sounds like there's a piece of wire wrapped around my drive shaft banging on, in the tunnel or something. So it'd be interesting to see what the issue is. Alright, let's see what's going on down here. Hoping it's just one of these heat shields right here. None of them look like they're hanging down. That heat shield looks like it might be hitting that bracket right there. That could be something. It's kind of hard to see down the drive shaft because it's over the heat shields. So here's the flex plate. That's what they use instead of like universal joints or whatever. I think all the bolts are tight. Let's go look at the front one. If you can see in there.
Yeah, it doesn't look like anything's loose. Still kind of thinking it must be a heat shield related. Like almost like when kind of the airflow, when you get up to 20 miles an hour and the airflow kind of pushes this up once it hit on the drive shaft. I think what we should do is lower the car down to where it's just barely has the wheels off the ground and get it up to 20 miles an hour on the lift and see if it makes a noise. And that would see if it's, you know, wind related, in which case it'd have to be something like a heat shield or if it's like a bearing or something. So let's do that. Alright, so I've lowered it down a good bit. I don't have it as low as I'd like it, but I want to keep it in one of the safety detents on the lift so that if it decides to lose hydraulic pressure, I don't run into my shop. Yeah, unfortunately it looks like it's not going to let me because of the traction control. So I'll have to trash that plan. Alright, so inside the drink holder there's a little hole right here. If you press it, let's see if I can. I'll let you shift into neutral. Okay, so now that we're in neutral, I can rotate the drive shaft. And I've tried pushing up on the heat shields. I rotate the drive shaft and just nothing's hitting anything. So I don't think that's it. What I did see though is right here where the two heat shields come together. It's kind of flappy there. And I imagine with the right airflow over that, it would create a little resonance. So let me try adjusting that a little bit. So when I originally adjusted this, I made sure there was a gap right there, but I wonder if that actually created the problem. So I've noticed right here, there's a little cutout. It almost looks like it's made to where this can go from like the bottom to the top. I don't know if that makes sense or not. Kind of lock them together maybe. I don't know, maybe I'll try making them where they're butted together instead of far apart. I can't really like, or I'll try sliding it also to where they just can't hit each other. I'll see if I can do one or the other. Okay, so I just adjusted it where the gap's a little bigger, and I don't think wind blowing over that or air blowing over that could make that hit anymore. I'm not seeing anywhere else. Maybe right there. Oh, I still got the screws loose. Alright, so I'll tighten those up. Anything else is really hitting on anything. Kind of makes a little bit of noise, but yeah, I don't know if I said earlier, I'm not really sure how these heat shields were before because they were really bent up. You can see I've kind of hammered that one kind of back into shape. So I may have created this issue. But anyways, I'm tightening all the bolts back up. We'll let it down and try this. So I guess one other possibility is maybe like something's wrapped around the drive shaft. I don't really know if that's likely, but I can't see it because of the heat shields, so I have to pull it all apart. But I think what I'm going to try to do is shine a light up in there and put you guys up in there, and y'all can tell me if there's anything wrapped around the drive shaft. So let's try that. Not any good. Let's go back and look. So I decided if I could just remove that heat shield, the bolts from the heat shield, and slide it back. See if I could, and yeah, here we are. See if I can hold the light and the camera at the same time. Yeah, there's nothing wrong here. New center bearing looks good. Everything's tight. Alright, right as I was putting things back together, I found this. It fell out the heat shield. So I was like, I wonder what that is. So looking up here, I don't know if you can quite tell. Set the light down right here. So I can put the camera in a different place. Yeah, it's hard to tell. But anyway, the drive shaft's there, and the drive shaft the drive shaft can expand right there. It has where it can compensate for the length of the drive shaft depending on where the suspension is. And there's a little rubber dust cover over it right here. And it's falling apart. And there's a piece of it flapping. Oh, see if I can get it right here where my finger is, and I bet that that's what it is. That's what it really seemed like. You got to a certain speed and the centrifugal force brought something out far enough to flap. So that rubber's just falling apart. And I bet that piece right here fell out 6 months after I replaced the center bearing, and that's why I heard it once and then it went away. So I guess I'll just help that thing along and go ahead and rip it out. Yeah. Be nice to have one on there, but I'm not going to take all this apart right now to replace it, so I'll just go without that for now. But let me do that. I bet that's what the problem was. Alright, get everything back together. Alright, I think I got a better view for you. See this little piece right here? It's hanging off. I bet that's just flapping around and hitting this heat shield right here. So I'm going to cut that piece off. Here's that piece. See, it's in pretty bad shape. It's just worn out. And taking it out is not an ideal solution, but I don't have much of a choice right now. I'm not going to order parts and pull the drive shaft out and wait a week and all that. So maybe one day if I see one online, I'll order one and then put it on next time I'm up under there working on something. But I bet that was the problem. So let's get it off the lift. Go for a test drive. Alright, just let the car down, and I did something dumb. Figured I'd let you know in case y'all are doing something similar to this and you have a lift like mine. Put it back in park before you let it down. This time it wasn't a big deal. I noticed it right when I let it down, it rolled a little bit. But last time I did it, it rolled off my wooden ramps, and then it got stuck on the pads that lift the car up, because you have to take those off and move them out of the way to drive the car off. So yeah, make sure you put it in park if you put it in neutral before you let the car down. Anyways, I figured if I'd caught myself out, maybe I'd remember next time. Alright, had a shower, refreshed to death. Let's go for a test drive. Oh, look at that. Hold on. You have anybody thinking we're some kind of a grease monkey. Oh, that's nasty too. Okay, I'm gonna cut the AC off. Alright, we're at the end of the driveway. The magic speed is 20 miles an hour. Alright, it's 20 right there. Alright, we're up to 40. I think that fixed it. It had to be that rubber piece. I don't think it was the heat shields now. I think it was the rubber pieces hitting the heat shields. Alright, we're at the next one. I think we can get a little faster on this one. Yeah, 65, everything's fine. So, it's definitely the problem. So what do y'all think? You think I should leave it like it is? Or you think I should figure out a way to cover that expansion joint in the drive shaft? Or maybe I could, like, you know, unfortunately I gotta pull the whole thing apart. Yeah, I gotta pull the exhaust off, I gotta pull the heat shields out, and pull the drive shaft out in order to take it apart so that I can put the new piece on. So maybe I could, like, 3D print a two-piece that I could pull tie on it, kind of like a repair boot for a CV axle or something. Or maybe they make something like that, I don't know. What do you guys think? Probably just gonna leave it like it is for a while though. Anyways, I think we got it fixed. Thanks for watching.